How's it going, everyone? And this is Daniel. In this video, we are going to be talking about Tesla stock, the overall stock market. We have big companies, including Tesla, announcing their earnings this upcoming week. We are going to be talking about these companies. We're going to go over some of the top questions that investors are asking that could potentially be answered in this Q2 earnings call coming up on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about what these top questions are. What are some questions that I'm looking forward to finding out the answers for? So we're going to be talking about all this important information. Of course, we're going to go over also what kind of price action we can expect for the overall stock market, also for Tesla stock too. So make sure you stay tuned. We're going to be talking about all this important information coming up. As you can see over here, we have the overall stock market that relatively did well, even though we got pretty high inflation data. We were expecting 8.8%. It came in at 9.1%. So it was relatively higher, but the overall stock market definitely digested pretty well. And we actually bounced back significantly from the lows that we made a few days ago. And we closed positive on Friday. We were up 1.91%, which is significantly higher than being anticipated. So a lot of people are expecting, okay, inflation is going to be high. The Fed is going to be raising interest rates pretty aggressively. That can have a negative impact on the stock market. But right now, it seems like the market digested it and just in the short term. But of course, we are going to be going over it and getting a lot of companies announcing their earnings, and that could definitely shift the overall trend of the stock market. So let's go over and talk about some of the big companies announcing tomorrow, Monday. Before the market open, we have big banks like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs announcing earnings. We also going to be getting other banks that are going to be announcing their earnings after the market close. We have the First Bank. As we move into Tuesday, we have before the market open, Johnson & Johnson. After the market closed, we have Netflix. So this is going to be pretty huge because if you remember, the Q1 earnings was pretty aggressive sell-off that we see on Netflix stock. We'll see what they're going to be saying in this earnings. We might potentially see a good bounce back that can help Netflix go higher if they say anything positive when it comes to their user base and things like that. And if they do not come out and say positive things, we might potentially see an aggressive sell-off happen with Netflix stock too. So this definitely is a big company that could shift to the NASDAQ. Also, we also have Ali Finance, Ali Invest. It's going to be also announcing their earnings as the bank from market open. Of course, on Wednesday, we are going to be getting Tesla earnings coming up after the market close. We also have United. And when you go into Thursday, we have AT&T, Snapchat, and also on Friday, we have Verizon, other big companies also like Twitter, which is going to be really interesting to watch because we know Elon Musk is definitely tangled with the Twitter Elon Musk situation that's happening at the current moment. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they're going to be saying on their earnings call. So let's talk about exactly what are some important questions that investors are raising based off of, what's the current situation with Tesla. So let's talk about some of the top questions that investors raised. Of course, as I talked about previously, also you could submit your questions. All you got to do is, if you are a shareholder on Robinhood or any other brokerage accounts, you could submit your questions and also vote on the top questions that you want answered. So at the current moment, at this point in time, these are the top questions that investors liked, and also these are going to be the potential questions that are going to be answered on this Q2 earnings call that we're going to be getting on Wednesday after market close. So let's go over some of these questions. So the first question is going to be, how is the 4680 ramp going, and is Giga Texas producing cells yet? We have, when will this Cybertruck be officially available? So this is a really important questions because they announced this year that they finished the final design for the Cybertruck. They've been adding a lot of features, so they officially said they are done with the design. So we are getting close to the official availability of the Cybertruck to be available for the public also. So it's going to be really interesting what they're going to be saying on answering with this question. So let's go over to the third question, which is going to be, would you consider buying back shares if we can maintain profitability? So this is also another important question that was asked on the previous earnings call, but I don't think they answered it. But it was raised by some big Tesla shareholder that he actually wanted Tesla to buy back its own shares so it can effectively affect the stock price to go higher, because people and investors were definitely complaining about, okay, Tesla share prices are just getting beat down, and they wanted some form of at least like a short-term rally to happen in the short term. If Tesla definitely buys back its own shares, it can definitely help the stock price to go higher. And of course, there's been a lot of things that's been happening with Elon Musk selling to acquire Twitter, and now that is kind of not going through. Is he going to potentially buy back his shares again and things like that? So it's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to be answering these questions. So we'll see about that. Also, another important question is, when is Tesla stock split? So this is also a great question. We know that they announced they're going to be doing a 3-to-1 stock split, and we are going to be getting more details about it on their next shareholder meeting that is coming up pretty soon. And the fifth question is going to be, how does Tesla plan to handle all of the misinformation attacks and fake news against Tesla and Elon Musk? We have been dealing with this, and it affects the stock. So it's also a good question to ask, because we know Tesla stock really been extremely volatile, especially the past few months with Elon Musk Twitter, with some fake news, basically what they're mentioning as having an impact with Elon. So this is also a great question to ask. And the final question is going to be, that has the top votes, is, how do you feel the progress of FSD is going, and does Andre leaving have any significant impact on any timeline potential progress? So I think I misspelled it, Andrej, so my bad. So this is also a pretty important question, because he left, and we know that there's not only himself that is actively, working on the project. There are multiple engineers that work with him, so it's definitely going to be somebody that can replace him within the team. But of course, he has been the leader of this AI team for Tesla for a long time, so that can have some impact on it. But still, we need to see what they're going to be answering when it comes to this important question. So as I mentioned, of course, if you have any questions, you can definitely, if you have Robinhood, if you own shares of Tesla shares with the Robinhood brokerage, it's easy for you to ask. You can submit there, also vote. If you also have other brokerage accounts, so you can definitely submit your questions, and also upvote some of the important questions that you want answered. So that is going to be for Tesla shareholders. But let's go over and talk about, of course, what to expect for the overall stock market for Tesla stock too. So this upcoming week, we have big banks announcing earnings. We have big tech companies, Netflix, Tesla, announcing earnings. So it could be really volatile for the overall stock market, especially when we get the Netflix earnings. If we get a significant bounce back for Netflix stock, that can help the overall market go higher. And if Netflix drops aggressively, that could have a negative pressure on the overall stock market too. And also the big banks also can have some important effect on the overall stock market too. So just accept it's definitely going to be a volatile week. So we're definitely holding about 380 area as we're watching, which is relatively pretty good. It's holding strong, and we could just be bouncing up and down within this range that we set for ourselves between 390, and the lowest that we made was around 375. So I'm expecting the market to just hover around within this range for this upcoming week. But let's talk about what to expect for Tesla too. So Tesla also has been trading in a very tight range between 750 to $650 the past few months. We get some good news, bounces back, and then we get inflation data, etc., rate hikes, etc. That affects it, and then it goes down and bounce back up again, recover. So we've been bouncing up and down within this range for the past few weeks and months. So this earnings could be a day where we could potentially see a breakout or a breakdown, and we can see a continuation move happening. So usually Tesla, the past few quarters, even though they announce pretty positive numbers, it tends to sell off a little bit, and then maybe the next day it rallies to the upside a lot, or it tends to go higher, and then the next day it sells off to the downside. So those are some of the important price action that we've seen, some of the earlier earnings that we got so far. But we'll definitely see if we can break out of this range. It would be great. And if we can potentially at least break out of this 700 and go to 800, that will be fantastic on the positive side. And if we break down too, we might potentially be testing the lows to the downside, which is around 630 and 620 area in the short term. So that's definitely gonna be the key price point levels that we're watching for Tesla stock. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think about Tesla stock? What do you think about the overall stock market? What kind of price action are you expecting? Are you expecting it to buy? Are you anticipating a drop on Tesla stock? Are you ready to buy? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinion. Of course, if you're new to the channel, to make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notification bell. Better catch you guys on another video. Have a wonderful day.